Last Thursday night, Israeli time, Israel went on a bombing mission in Syria, and 21 people were killed, including 9 Iranians. Um, the strike was reportedly aimed at Hezbollah members and militias supporting the Assad regime. But the important headline is that 9 Iranians were killed. According to reports, 6 strong explosions allegedly caused by missile strikes were heard in the Homs region near the Lebanese border. Syrian air defense systems reportedly attempted to intercept the missiles. And certainly this isn't the first time that Israel has gone into Syria through Lebanon or wherever, whatever route they've wanted to take, and has struck Iranian positions, many of them Syrian bases. In fact, it's gotten so bad that Syria has now said that Iran cannot use their bases anymore because of the damage that Israel has done. And, this is just a series of strikes that Israel's had over the last 30 to 45 days. And of course, many believe that Israel and Iran are on the brink of war, and for good reason. But just when you think Israel and Iran are ready to go out, all out into a war, not only in Syria, but possibly abroad as well, something unexpected happens, and this is coming out of the Jerusalem Post. It's being reported that Israel and Iran are now meeting secretly and are engaged in indirect negotiations over Syria fighting. And this is what the report says. It says Iran and Israel engaged over the weekend in indirect negotiations in Jordan regarding fighting in southwestern Syria, according to a Saudi-owned website. And I believe it's pronounced Elaf, and they reported that the Iranians pledged not to participate in expected battles in southwestern Syria between President Bashar al-Assad and rebel groups, and Israel has made it clear that it will not intervene in the battles in the tri-border area as long as Hezbollah and the Iranian-backed Shiite militias are not involved. Now, this is being held in Amman, where Israel, their representatives are in one hotel room in a certain hotel, and Iranian representatives are in another hotel room in, of course, the same hotel, and a Jordanian representative, ambassador, is acting as a liaison between the two parties and is literally going from one room to the other room, back to the other room, passing messages back and forth as far as trying to get these negotiations underway. And basically, the negotiations were about Israel making it clear to the Iranians that they should not become involved in fighting close to the Israel-Syria ceasefire lines in the Golan and the Israel-Jordan border. One participant in the talks reportedly said that the sides discussed this issue with the Israelis and arrived at a quick agreement and even surprised the Israeli representatives. And here's something that kind of comes as a surprise to me. It says in recent days, Israel and Iran are said to have passed a large number of messages via Jordan regarding the situation in Syria. Israel has warned Iran of the possibility of conflict should Tehran send its troops and Hezbollah militants to southern Syria in order to participate in the fighting there. Jordan has also passed the messages to Syrian and Russian officials. Elaf sources said Iran understood its heavy losses in Syria resulting from Israeli attacks in the country. For this reason, Iran may have been willing to agree not to participate in battles in southern Syria on the condition that Israel will not participate at all in combat in the region. And in closing, it says that Israel's peace treaty with Jordan includes an Israeli umbrella of defense, which provides for Israeli military action should Jordan be threatened. So not only does Israel have an obligation to protect its own territory, but also Jordanian territory if it feels threatened. So it sounds like to me the Jordanians have acted as a honest broker between Israel and Iran. But even though these talks have taken place, don't think for a second that Israel will not take action against manufacturing of precision and defense weapons that are manufactured in Lebanon. In fact, Israel was just passing through and making its rounds in Lebanon, and lo and behold, Russia sent fighter jets to intercept Israel, so I'm not sure what kind of message is being sent there. But it was my understanding that Israel and Russia had a silent understanding that Israel would be able to roam the skies of the Middle East, and especially over Lebanon. But evidently that has been retracted. There are several things that I want to bring up that you need to keep in mind. Number one, that U.S. President Donald Trump is going to be unleashing or unveiling the details of his Middle East peace plan in either late June or early July. And of course, that could be delayed. You never know what the story is going to be, but I think that the prospects that it will be revealed during that time frame is pretty good, because I don't think that the Trump administration is worried about whether or not Palestinian leader Abbas is going to accept it or not. In fact, he just got out of the hospital, and it is believed that his health is failing. And the story is that he may not be around that much longer, or he may have to step down because of his health. But either way, they're already grooming leaders that will accept the Trump peace plan. And whether or not Mr. Abbas is willing to do so or not at some point in time, the plan indicates that the Palestinians will be able to jump in anytime they want. But the sooner, the better. But that's something I believe you need to keep your eyes on. Now, there's something else that you also need to keep your eyes on. That is the Iranian deal and how it goes forward from this point on. And I think you can get a good idea how the Iranian deal is going to go by how Mr. Trump is handling the North Korean summit. It looked like the Chinese and also the North Korean leader were about to bow out of this North Korean summit, and were not responding in the way Mr. Trump thought they should. And he decided about midway through last week that the June 12th meeting was going to be canceled. Well, about the time he did that, that's when he got the message that Mr. Kim Jong-un, he was ready to come back to the table, and he very well may indeed have the summit on June 12th. In fact, the U.S. team is already in Singapore, making preparations for the summit that they, or the June 12th summit that they are anticipating will take place. But whether it does or whether it doesn't, that's a good indication of how that the Trump administration is going to go forward with the Iranian deal. The Iranians can come clean and allow verification of their nuclear program to go forward, or they can continue to go in the direction that they're going and face crippling sanctions. And I believe the European Union will finally get on board with the United States. I personally don't believe they have any other choice. And there's been talk that the Europeans are trying to partner with the Russians and with the Chinese and trying to make this deal go forward without the United States. But in the long run, they're going to find out that they simply can't operate without the United States blessing and full cooperation from them. So what am I trying to say? Keep an eye on. This is kind of the direction I'm taking. Is it possible that there could be a Middle East peace plan in the same year that there is a verifiable Iranian nuke deal and a verifiable North Korean nuke deal, and there's peace among these three sectors? And frankly put, that would be unprecedented if that were to take place. And part of this Iranian deal may be that they stop funding terrorism, so that would also cut off Hamas and Hezbollah for the time being, and also what's going on down in Yemen, which would be good for Saudi Arabia and their coalition. And frankly put, that would be some peace deal. And if that were to take place, that would set up what I believe is being described in Ezekiel 38, where it says that Israel is living in peace and safety. And the ball's already rolling with the secret talks between Iran and Israel as we speak. And it really came as a shock to me when I heard that Israel and Iran were in talks. And on top of that, the talks did not demand that Iran leave Syria, but that Israel was fine, or at least okay, with Iran's presence in Syria. That wasn't one of the demands that they get out of Syria. So it sounds like to me that in the future that Israel is going to be okay with Iran's presence in Syria as long as it doesn't become and continue to be a major threat to Israel on their southern border. So we'll have to see how this moves forward. But these are the things that I'm looking at, and the things that I'll be keeping my eye on from this day forward. And if you don't know the Lord, today is the day of salvation. It's appointed a man wants to die, then the judgment. That means that one day you're going to stand before God. You could live to be 100 years old, but you're still going to stand before God. And speaking of that, 150,000 people are going to die by the end of this day. And the Bible says the vast majority of them are going to end up in a burning hell. That sounds horrible, but that's exactly what's going to happen if you don't know the Lord. So I'd recommend to you today to make that commitment to the Lord, believe that He died for you, and ask Him to save you, and from this day forward, live for Him. And you know what salvation is? Salvation is you turning from sin and turning to the Savior. So I would encourage you to do that today. And you Christians, you need to get a copy of my Tribulation Period Survival Guide. Go down to the description section of this video. You'll find the link that will take you to get either the free version, which is a digital version written in 9 different languages. It's free. You can download it to your device, whatever it may be. Or you can get the paperback version that you can hand to your lost loved one. It does cost money, but I believe it is a great investment. And when the rapture does take place, they will have this book in their hand. And the first thing it tells them to do is to get saved, to know the Lord. And I guarantee if the rapture takes place in your lifetime, that they will look for that book and they will read it. So I'd encourage you to get this book, get it in their hands, and use it as a last resort, because you need to be witnessing to them also. But if that's not working, use it as a last resort. Have it in their hands so that when the rapture takes place, they will read it. They will learn that they need to get saved, and there'll be other things that it will also tell them that they'll need to do from this day forward. So get your copy today. I'd recommend you do that. Well, this is Terry Malone with the Calvary Prophecy Report.